California is home to 4.6 million eligible unregistered voters. This bill is an opportunity to welcome nearly all of these Californians into our democracy and ensure that their voices are heard at the ballot box. While we have made great strides to expand voter registration, many continue to be left out of the democratic process. Latino voters are the most underrepresented, with just 35% of adult Latinos registered to vote. Women are also underrepresented, and they are left behind at the ballot box with a staggering 2 million eligible but unregistered women here in the Golden State. That is why it's critical that we work to remove the barriers to accessing the ballot box and give every eligible voter the opportunity to cast their vote. SB 846 will broaden access for eligible voters by streamlining procedures at the DMV, by creating an automatic registration for all voters with the option of opting out. With time, it will save taxpayers money, ease the burden on election administrators, and improve the quality of the state's voter file all at once. We are seeing the success of policies like this in states like Colorado, Oregon, Nevada, Delaware, Alaska, Massachusetts, as well as the District of Columbia. California is no stranger to making election improvements, from creating the first version of automatic voter registration at the DMV in 2015 to making it possible for all registered voters to vote by mail through the pandemic and beyond. Now, California has the opportunity to build on the good that has come from past efforts. But SB 846 is more than just improving voter registration in a technical way. It's about ensuring that every eligible voter has the opportunity to participate in our democracy. This bill will ensure that all of us that are registered to vote are seen, heard, and represented. Thank you. I'd like to call up Cha Vang, Deputy Director, AAPIs for Civic Empowerment for the Education Fund, to say a few words about the bill.
Thank you, Senator. Good morning, everyone. Wanted to just thank the Senator Limón, Senator Mahivar, and our allies in the legislature for sponsoring this critical legislation. And thank you all for being here today. My name is Cha Vang. I'm actually interim co-ED of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders for Civic Empowerment Education Fund, a statewide network of grassroots organizations that are building progressive API political power in California to advance racial and economic justice for all. I'm here today as part of the California Grassroots Democracy Coalition, a multiracial group of more than 140 organizations representing communities from across our state. The leaders of our coalition engage voters of color year-round in voter registration and education activities. SB 846 comes from our combined decades of experience, expertise, and the understanding of challenges that voters face in reaching the ballot box. We are supporting SB 846 for secured automatic voter registration because it removes long-standing barriers to voting for many of our Californians' historically marginalized communities whose voices have been left out of the political process for far too long. We are Black, Latinx, and Asian American and Pacific Islander Californians are vastly overrepresented in the state's population of eligible but unregistered voters. Our current voter registration system has failed our Asian American communities. The data shows that Asian American Californians are disproportionately under-registered in comparison to white voters and very less likely to register than any other group using the current system. Our faulty system has led to an electorate that's skewed older, whiter, and wealthier than the state's population as a whole. And the electorate does not represent the diversity of our state. In order to have a true inclusive democracy, we need secure, effective election systems that serve and give voice to our communities. And communities of color have been deliberately excluded from our democracy throughout history. Requiring citizenships to register before voting is a tool for withdrawing political power for poor, non-white communities after the Civil War. And the excessive complexity of the voter registration system is a result of the Black codes and Jim Crow. California must lead the nation in eliminating barriers that exist and centering the needs of our communities so that every eligible voter can fully participate in a genuine democracy, a democracy that welcomes each of us who is eligible with open arms. Voting should not be a privilege only available to people who have with time, knowledge, and resources to navigate the complicated and confusing procedures. California's automatic voter registration system needs an upgrade. By passing SB 846, we would protect the integrity of our election system, and it would not only streamline the voter registration process for all eligible voters, but it would also protect our most marginalized Californians. Returning citizens who have served their time deserve to have their constitutionally protected freedom to vote restored, and with SB 846, they will be spared the confusion, the uncertainty, the anxiety, and the doubt of trying to reclaim their right to vote. And non-citizen Californians who need to interact with DMV to ensure that they make it to work, earn a living, pay taxes, and support their families would be protected from the potentially devastating immigration consequences of registering to vote by mistake, consequences that would prevent them from ever becoming a citizen and securing their right to vote. And folks in the LGBTQ plus communities would not need to bear the trauma of explaining name changes to government officials over and over and over again, because this bill would streamline the sharing of information across agencies. SB 846 is a critical legislation that would set an example for the rest of the nation about how our democratic systems can be improved to include and benefit our communities. Passing this bill would bring us closer to ensuring our communities would be more, who have been historically left out of the democratic process would finally make their voices heard. And each and every eligible voter should be able to participate in our election. We urge California State Senate to pass SB 846. Thank you. With that, I'm going to pass this over to Alejandra. Oh, or Ernie, my fault.
Good morning, and thank you to Senator Limón and to Cha Vang of AAPI Force, and thank all of you for being here today in support of SB 846. My name is Arnie Sowell, and I am the Executive Director of NextGen Policy. NextGen is a mission-driven, nonprofit organization that advances and advocates for progressive policy change and legislative actions to address environmental, social, gender, economic, and racial inequities throughout the state of California. We are an organization that believes that justice begins with diversity, equity, and inclusion. And these principles are the hallmark and the foundation of all the work that we do on the legislative front, on the regulatory front, as well as on the programmatic front. We focus on serving communities that have been historically underrepresented and systematically excluded at all levels of government. And we believe strongly that policy and program solutions to combat inequities that have been perpetuated by systems of institutional discrimination and bias must be addressed and overcome. That is why we support, and we're in strong support of SB 846, which will help California expand its voter rolls and become a more equitable an equitable state, as well as a more a state whose voting rolls reflect the diversity of all of California's communities. For far too long, the voices of 4.6 million eligible voters, their voices have gone unheard in our election systems, which have resulted in a system that serves those that are most likely to vote instead of those who need the help the most. And if you just indulge me just for 1 second, my team sent me something, and I want to make sure that I get these statistics right, because they were just updated to me, and just give me just 1 second. I want to make sure that there was a study that we conducted, and I want to make sure that I get the information on the study that we conducted on other states that have implemented AVR, and what the results of that has been. And as I mentioned, we conducted a study well over a year or so ago, and the results are actually really astonishing. In Colorado, the rate of eligible voter registrations at the DMV doubled after the implementation of this policy. And that policy, as you've heard, is informally known as secure AVR. This effect was even more pronounced among 16 and 17-year-olds who were pre-registered to vote as well. In Delaware, the State Elections Commission documented that there was over $200,000 in labor cost savings just in the first year of implementation of secure AVR. And for a large state like California, we estimate that this bill could end up saving taxpayers somewhere between $7 and $9 million each election cycle. Here in California, we expect the rate of declining at the DMV. That's the portion of those folks that would actually opt out of registering to vote. It currently is roughly about 50%. But in Oregon, after secure voter AVR was adopted, that number was only 1%. Leading to significant increases in voter registration and subsequently in voter turnout. And so by working together to pass SB 846, we believe that we can find a pathway to 100% voter registration. And we believe that we'll make California more equitable, inclusive, and more prosperous as a result. NextGen has worked across the board on issues of digital equity, climate equity, food equity, and racial equity in pursuit of a society where all can thrive and reach their full potential. A more diverse, equitable, inclusive, and prosperous California is one where there are equitable voter rolls and voter participation. That's why we're in strong support of SB 846 and urge the State Senate to pass SB 846 and are extremely appreciative of the work of Senator Limón and AAPI Force in this endeavor. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here, as my colleagues have said, and thank you to Senator Limón, Senator Menjivar, and our allies for supporting this critical legislation. My name is Alejandra Ramirez Zarate, and I'm here today on behalf of OC Action, one of 140 organizations comprising the multiracial California Grassroots Democracy Coalition. OC Action is an AAPI Latinx Labor Environmental Justice Alliance in Orange County. We're responsible for collective community and power building in the region. Our alliance was one of the first organizations to start and drive this campaign, building this multiracial, multi-issue coalition alongside our community partners across the state to pass one of the most important registration legislations in the nation, secure automatic voter registration, otherwise known as SAVR. For many of our partner organizations in Orange County and across the state, we know that barriers that voter registration presents to voters who have never been welcome as part of our democracy. Though Orange County is majority people of color county, 60% of the county's total eligible voting population, we see that our communities only reflect 43% of the electorate, demonstrating that voter registration already acts as a significant barrier for our community to participate and be enfranchised in our elections. In Orange County alone, we know that approximately half of the unregistered population would be people of color alone. The California Grassroots Democracy Coalition was started to ensure that grassroots organizations that work with our most impacted communities, such as those who are non-English speaking, low income, and undocumented, are centered as part of how to re-envision democracy in California. Through SB 846, we see a policy solution to address urgent issues, such as the voter participation gap in our state. Voter registration as a barrier to voting, increasing the accuracy of voter rolls, and affirming the integrity of our elections process. Though a significant portion of California is already registered, as my colleagues have stated, we're still missing 4.6 million eligible voters in California. This population alone would be larger than 25 states. According to PPIC, white voters are currently overrepresented among likely voters, making up 42% of adults, but 58% of likely voters. Latinx voters are underrepresented, 35% of adults and only 19% of likely voters. Rather than focusing limited resources and people power on convincing Californians to vote, we can direct our efforts towards educating and empowering voters to become lifetime voters and deciding who their elected officials are and the changes they want to see in their neighborhoods for a more inclusive and equitable future. This bill is about reducing barriers to participation in our elections and having an authentic democracy. We know that the 4.6 million eligible and not registered voters are likely some of the most disenfranchised communities, and our organizations spend year-round in the field educating voters and mobilizing them to vote. Voter registration is particularly low for citizens who are reentering society. Less than 1 in 4 incarcerated people is registered to vote, which disproportionately impacts Blacks and Latinos who have the highest rates of incarceration. Evidence shows that many formerly incarcerated individuals unnecessarily decline voter registration when offered because they are uncertain of their rights and have heard that there may be consequences to voting. This is why SB 846 is a critical component to rights restoration, following the will of voters through Prop 17 to ensure that every eligible voter in California is welcome to participate in our democracy. We have an opportunity to lead the nation in showing what an authentic democracy can look like by removing unnecessary barriers to voting and inspire legislators in other states across the country. We call upon the California Senate to pass 846 and invite other organizations and leaders who believe in an equitable, authentic democracy to join a coalition for a pathway to 100% voter registration in California. Lastly, I just wanted to share that as an immigrant from Guatemala, after 25 years of not being a part of that authentic democracy, I was able to vote for the first time last November. And I'm hoping that that dream will be possible for every Californian through SB 846. So thank you to Senator Limón, and thank you to Senator Menjivar for their leadership.
Thank you, and I want to thank everyone. And, people have asked me, why is this needed? California is already doing a good job. And I think that while we're doing good, you've heard the statistic repeated over and over and over, 4.6 million individuals who are eligible to be registered to vote are not. So while California may be ahead of the game on some fronts, it's not acceptable to leave 4.6 million voices who have the ability to participate out of the system. So I just want to thank everyone for participating, the incredible coalition that we have that is advancing this. Senator Caroline Menjivar, who is in committee right now, but who is also one of the lead authors on this particular bill. Thank you. I am.
And I don't want to put you on the spot.
That's okay.
Any chance you could get a little bit of Spanish for our friends at Telemundo?
Sure.
Could do it after?
Okay, we'll do it after. Yeah, thank you.
The only other question was, I know that there was something mentioned, I believe, about non-citizens in California. How does that work? They go to the DMV though now, and it would just not include them? Is that how it works?
So the automatic voter registration system that we are proposing would be a system that would automatically have a configuration to actually not have individuals who are not eligible to vote. And so that is the difference now. An individual goes into the DMV and answers a series of questions. If those questions are answered accurately, the person who is not eligible to vote will not be registered to vote. If for any reason there's talking, there's confusion, or something happens and a question is not answered correctly, they are incorrectly registered. So this would create a system to actually have more proof and a greater stance in terms of ensuring that those who are eligible get in the system and those who are ineligible don't accidentally get into the system. Great, thank you. Thank you, everyone.